Hey everyone, today we're going to crack open an absolute classic, Robert W. Bly's The Copywriter's Handbook. Seriously, this thing is just packed with wisdom on the art of persuasion. You know, the skill of writing words that actually sell. We're going to boil it all down to its core genius in just a few minutes. So let's get right into it.
Okay, this quote right here, this is everything. It's the North Star for anyone who wants to write persuasively. It's a reminder to forget all the fancy, clever words for a minute and focus on the real job, to sell. You're there to convince, to motivate, to get someone to take action. This one idea is the foundation for, well, everything else we're about to cover.
So, here's our game plan for the next few minutes. We'll start with that core salesperson mindset. Then we'll dive deep into how you can really know your customer, write with total clarity, create a promise they can't refuse, and finally, how to make it ridiculously easy for them to say yes. These are the 5 pillars that hold up all great copy.
All right, let's tackle Pillar 1, the salesperson mindset. This isn't just about a title, It's a complete shift in how you see your work. It's about moving from just writing to inform or entertain to writing with a very clear, very specific goal, to get a result.
This is such a huge idea. I mean, think about it. Technology, social media platforms, trends, they're all changing at lightning speed. We went from typewriters to AI in the blink of an eye. But the human brain? It's basically running on the same software it was thousands of years ago. Our core drivers, desire, fear, curiosity, the need to feel safe, they don't get updates. And that's exactly why these principles will always work.
And that brings us perfectly to our second pillar, know your customer. This is where so many writers just completely miss the mark. They start by talking about the product, right? The features, the specs. But Bly says no, you start with the prospect. Great copy isn't really about your product at all. It's like holding up a mirror to your customer's mind.
Which leads us to this question. Not what you think they want, not what some market research spreadsheet says they should want, but deep down, what do they truly desire? What's that thing that keeps them staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.? Answering that, well, that's the bedrock of all persuasion.
So how do we figure that out? Well, Bly gives us this brilliant little tool called the BFD framework. It stands for beliefs, feelings, and desires. And this isn't about demographics like age or zip code. This is about psychographics. It's about getting inside their head and understanding their worldview, their emotions, and what they're really trying to achieve.
And here's a perfect example of this in action. Bly broke down the mindset of IT professionals. What are their beliefs? Users are stupid. How do they feel? We're misunderstood and totally unappreciated. And what do they desire most? Recognition. Armed with those insights, a marketing letter for a seminar started with this headline: important news for any IT professional who has ever felt like telling an end user, go to hell. Guess what? It was a massive success because it spoke directly to how they felt. Okay, on to pillar number 3. So you get your customer, now you actually have to talk to them. And the big secret here is just radical simplicity. Remember, your goal is not to sound smart, your goal is to be understood.
This slide just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got this heavy corporate jargon, objective, consistent, capital risk. It's all about the advertiser. But on the right, the you-oriented copy is so clear and direct. It speaks to the reader's benefit, gives you the maximum return. You can take out money. It's a simple little switch from we do this to you get this, but man, it makes all the difference.
And a huge part of being understood is using simple words. Seriously, why on earth would you say utilize when you can just say use? Why purchase instead of buy? Using big, complicated words doesn't make you sound intelligent, it just puts a barrier between you and your reader. Bly makes a great point. The smartest people in the world don't mind simplicity, but for everyone else, it's the only way they'll get your message.
And if you need any more proof that simple words are powerful, just look at this. It's one of the most profound questions in all of literature. And there isn't a single word in there longer than 3 letters. Simplicity isn't a sign of a simple mind. It's a sign of a clear one.
And now for pillar number 4. So you understand your customer, and you're speaking their language. The next step is to make them a promise. A big, bold, can't-ignore-it promise that grabs their attention and makes them desperately want what you're offering.
This quote from Samuel Johnson just nails it. Your headline, your opening line, it has to promise a valuable benefit. This is what people call the unique selling proposition, or USP. It's the answer to that unspoken question in your customer's mind, why should I pick you over all the other options?
So, how do you actually build one of these things?
Well, here's the 4-step process. First, list out your product's benefits. Then, look at your competition and see what they're not talking about. Find that one unique benefit that really matters, and then you dramatize it. You make it vivid, exciting, and absolutely impossible to ignore.
But here's the thing. What happens when your big promise is so big that people just don't believe you? Like a 4,900% return on a stock or some miracle cure? This is where a really clever technique comes into play, the secondary promise.
The secondary promise is basically a safety net for anyone who's skeptical. So let's say your big promise is that 4,900% gain on a stock. That sounds crazy, right? But what if you add a secondary promise like this? And even if we're wrong, this stock is still perfectly positioned to earn you a solid 500% gain. All of a sudden, the offer feels safe. The prospect thinks, well, either way, I can't lose. It's a masterful little trick to make a huge claim feel totally credible.
And that brings us to our final and absolutely crucial pillar. Make it easy to act. You've done everything else right. You've connected with them, spoken their language, made an amazing promise. Now you have to close the deal by making that next step completely and totally frictionless.
Think of this as your checklist. Now, in the old days, it was about coupons and reply cards. Today, it's about giant buy now buttons, super simple checkout forms, and accepting every payment type under the sun. The tools change, but the principle is exactly the same. Reduce the amount of work someone has to do to say yes. Every little bit of confusion, every extra click is a chance for them to just walk away.
And this right here is the goal in a nutshell. Your job is to create a smooth, clear, downhill slide from your reader's interest to the action you want them to take. And that means you have to remove every single obstacle, every doubt, every question, every extra effort that could possibly get in their way.
So there you have it, the core principles from a true copywriting master. Be a salesperson. Know your customer inside and out. Keep it simple. Promise something big and make it dead easy to act. You know, these aren't just tricks for writing ads. They are the fundamental keys to powerful communication. The only question left is, what are you going to use them for?